anybody wants to speak, there was a sign-in sheet, so if anybody hasn't, feel free. We will call the meeting to order for the Mercer County School District 404 Board of Education regular meeting Wednesday, October 16th. Roll call vote, please. Or roll call, I'm sorry, roll call, please.
Balmer.
Here.
Lower.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Yates.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Our first item on the agenda is public comments, and we have 6 folks that are signed up to make a public comment. I'm going to read off public participation in the board meeting. There should have been copies of it over there. Board of Education welcomes public comments during the public comment portion of the agenda. Those who wish to address the board should state their name and limit their statement to 5 minutes. Comments are not restricted to items on the agenda. However, comments regarding specific student discipline cases are not allowed during open session. Generally, these types of comments should come to the board only after they have been referred to the teacher, principal, or administrator who is closest to the situation. If all other avenues for resolving these items have been exhausted and the issue has not yet been resolved, you may request to address the board, usually during closed session. In addition, please refrain from using derogatory comments about staff members or students at this time. All right. So I will keep a timer. If you don't use your whole 5 minutes, that's okay. But everybody had a chance to sign up to speak if they wanted. All right. First one, I'm not sure the first name, but it's a Baker.
Julie.
Oh, Julie. I thought it was Julie, but I wasn't really sure. All right. You can stand there, you can come here, whatever you're comfortable with.
Right here, that's okay.
Yep.
I'm Julie Baker. Tanner, I'm proud to say that Tanner Matlick is my son-in-law, and I'm going to speak about his suspension. Qualities of a good coach: fair, understanding, honest, driven, has a desire to mold young boys toward being men, not only teaching them to respect others, but themselves. Many of Tanner's coaches over the years have had these qualities and have helped groom him into the man he is today. These are qualities I want to see in my own son, and Tanner is an excellent role model for him. Tanner has expressed to me that he wants his players to grow and become better human beings from their experience on his team. I leave you with this question: if these desires and qualities that Tanner maintains are creating a climate and culture below the expectations of the school district, what are the expectations of the school district?
Okay. Thank you. Next up, Kyle Matlick.
Can I sit right here?
Yeah, you can sit right there.
I have a problem with the statement that the school gave to the media. It's very vague and open-ended. People can read that. It almost sounds like Tanner is a monster to me, but people interpret that thing in so many different ways, and we have had that happen on social media, and I can't even begin to tell you what people have come up with. I mean, that you've given them the right to dream up what might have happened. So it's, the thing about it is, those people don't care what happens tonight. They formed their opinion, and that's the way it's going to stay. And that bothers me, because it's my son, you know, it kills me. I've had relatives email or text me, call me, what did he do? Because we're seeing some ungodly things. And that's what happens when you leave an open-ended message like that. It's just ridiculous. Second point, I'm assuming the tipping point of his suspension was last Friday at Rockridge. Mr. Superintendent, were you at the game?
We're not allowed to really respond, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I'm assuming you weren't. And I don't know if the principal was there or not, and I'm assuming she wasn't. I'd just like to know where you got your account of what happened. Because from what I saw, there was no touching of a player. The player exited the team 50 yards down the line.
We
No.
probably shouldn't speak about the player.
Stop saying the name.
I know, I
Isn't
understand,
this
but
why
we all know the names. I just want to be careful.
I
dealing
didn't
with,
say a name.
I understand, we're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old minors, so I just don't want any repercussions to come back to a
Okay, first of all, if we're trying to build the culture, the game, probably the most important game of regular season in 25 years, maybe you should have been there. Last thing, and a tremendous running back that played here had a comment on social media that I couldn't get my mind off of. He said, this is a toxic environment. It's hard to play for Aledo or Mercer County. It's hard to coach for Aledo or Mercer County. And to me, it all starts at home. We have to say to our kids, do you want to be a part of this? Because it's rugged. If you don't, that's fine. Don't play. But if you do decide to play, stay with the team. Do what the coaches say. You know, we can't have people straying off everywhere and expect to be where we want to be. We have to be all one. The fans, the parents, the players, and the coaches. If we're not, we'll never make it back to Champaign again. That's all I got.
Thank you. Next up is Julie Romney.
Hi, I am Tanner's aunt, and I am here in support of Tanner. I believe this whole thing is bigger than just an accusation or two. It seems to me that someone apparently with high influence is out to get rid of Tanner as a head coach. A few things that I'd like to share. I heard the principal herself told Tanner that she heard reports of him training the boys too hard at practices and other reports of hitting helmets too hard. And also she said she was going to wait until the end of the season to address them. Now, if that is true, is it in the player's best interest to wait until the end of the season to address it? If he is doing such a bad job, you're just going to let him continue this until the end of the year? I'd say you dropped the ball. Or is it that you just made it up on the spot to make Tanner look worse? It was also said by the principal that 90% of the players probably don't like Tanner like he thinks they do. Now, is that professional to even state that? Why don't we ask the players what they think? Doesn't the team vote for or against a captain by a show of hands? Have you given the team that choice about Tanner? This latest accusation that Tanner says is completely false has been given by someone who is a highly competitive wrestler. His accusations were that of a physical attack. I'm pretty sure he's taken a worse butt kicking on the mat. But let's remember, Tanner said it never happened. And can I point out that his parents have also voiced
We
how
need
much
to not
they
talk
don't like
about
Tanner
parent.
before
We
all
need,
of this. So it makes
ma'am,
you wonder.
ma'am, we need to stop bringing in other kids and parents into the conversation, okay?
Okay,
Because
well, the rest of this doesn't.
it's, we're talking about kids, so.
Also this list that you supposedly cut throughout the season of these occurrences,
Angie Dilly.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to get rid of some of my, message here too, because I did bring up some things that I guess you need to stop. I'm Angie Dilly. I'm here obviously on behalf of Tanner and actually the rest of the coaching staff and the students and this football program. This is one of the hardest things I've had to do. Trust me when I say I would not be here had I thought that Tanner was in the wrong and that this was handled properly. I always supported teachers, staff, coaches, etc. when my kids were in school, knowing that they had my kids' best interests at heart. We all know that you don't work in a school district to get rich. It's all about the fact that you love and support kids. I respect each of you board members for the time you put into this thankless job and hate the things that I have to say that are against the very district I worked for and respected for 16 years. Up until this situation, I've defended any and all decisions made, as most people have no idea what is really happening prior to these meetings and all it entails to be in those seats. I 100% guarantee this would not have been the way prior administration would have handled this situation, and it saddens me that this is how an employee of this district is being treated. I'll be the first to admit, as Tanner's mother-in-law, he is not perfect, but neither are the rest of us. We all fall short every single day and fail no matter how hard we try. Tanner was a standout athlete at Mercer County High School who led his team to state as QB his senior year, was a standout athlete in all sports. He went on to be a huge success at Monmouth College as quarterback of this football team. This community, this district, and committee voted him into the Mercer County Hall of Fame 1 year before this administration assigned him the head football coach position. Those are all big things. But the biggest thing for me as a mom was way back in high school. In his high school career, no matter what he was being interviewed for, he always gave credit to his teammates and coaches. I admired how he was so humble all the way through his college years, giving credit where credit was due and leaving very little praise for himself. The same is true when he's interviewed as a head coach. Credit always goes to athletes and his team, or goes to the athletes and his team of coaches first and foremost. And when the team loses a game, the interview sounds much different, and Tanner's taking the loss on himself and stating how he's going to work to better prepare the team for next week's game. These kids know all of this, have seen all of this, and have heard all of this from a young age, as many of them saw him as this town's hero. I do not agree and feel that the administration was out of line when they told Tanner that 90% of his team does not like him. Yet another accusation. He could show many recent messages from his players that prove this statement false, as well as parents of these players, community members, coaches from outside this district. The list goes on and on, the amount of people who support Tanner Matlick as the head football coach in Mercer County School District. I was disgusted by the quote from the district to WRMJ. I'd like a better explanation of what the culmination of a series of events actually means and proof of each situation and not just accusations. Tanner was not given any explanation at the time, nor was he asked questions or able to defend himself. I am aware of one situation that did occur at a home football game, and I know that Tanner owned up to this and apologized. The matter was no longer an issue and all involved were able to move past it. I'd like to know the expectations of the school district and the community and why, according to this quote, they are below the culture you want in terms of this football program. This is a very vague comment that makes Tanner sound like he's done something awful and quite frankly makes our school district and community look ridiculous. As a voice in this community, I do not agree with this statement. You are only speaking for those who have spoken to you in negative ways about this season. I feel like this whole thing was poorly handled. How does it look to the rest of the team, to our coaches, to other parents who have raised these kids to be respectful, to our opposing team, of what event happened on Friday night at the Rockridge game? This administration has hurt these student athletes more than Tanner ever could by taking their coach away from them mid-season. The coach they rely on to show up every practice, every game, every pasta dinner, every extra moment, they know that they can count on their coach. Do you think these kids don't feel deflated enough knowing and hearing how disappointed people feel that we won't make playoffs this year? They need their coach. Tanner and this coaching staff will not give up on this team. They will not leave these boys. They made a commitment and they will honor that. I believe you have opened revolving doors for those complaining parents to think they can come in and get other coaches suspended if they complain enough. You have opened up a revolving door for our student athletes to think they can handle themselves in a way that shows disrespect to other programs and very low consequences and an entitlement to get what they want, no matter how they choose to handle themselves. I don't feel that this is the Merco way, and I'm confident that our board members in this community want better for this district. Tanner met with the admins yesterday, and they came up with a long list of things he's been doing wrong all year. Nothing was ever addressed, so is it really a problem, or is it just a problem now because they're trying to defend their actions of suspending him indefinitely? These actions are not in line with any other coaches or staff that have been handled in the past when parents come to complain. Since when do we not support our faculty and staff and just take the word from parents about situations? If this is the direction this district is heading, you will be left with very few good employees and even less support staff and coaches. No one will apply for Tanner's position knowing how this was handled, knowing that it was parent-led, knowing that they won't have the support of administration to have their back. Can any employee in this district truly feel secure in this position today if you take the side of parents that are habitual complainers and think their kids do nothing wrong? Tanner is not a perfect person, but he was and is the perfect person for this job. He bleeds blue and gold. He chose to make this community his home where his children will someday go to school. And he worked hard to make his dream of leading the Golden Eagle football team come true. He works hard day in and day out, missing important family events and time with his kids and wife for this program. There's so much more to athletics than just the scoreboard, but unfortunately I do believe that this is what it's all about. If the team was winning, none of this would be happening and none of us would be here. I believe that God has placed Tanner in these kids' lives to help mold them to be great men someday. Isn't that what we all should want? That's the kind of district I thought Merco was, and I pray it gets back to the standards and beliefs that community was based on. There's so much more I could say about this situation, but I'll conclude with a quote from one of our football players to his mom. Tanner was making us better people.
Thank you. Derek King.
Hello members of the board, my name is Derek King and I'm an assistant coach for the varsity football team, with the core responsibility being an offensive line. So when a play gets blown up with the quarterback at sack, that is squarely on me. I'm speaking tonight to address the indefinite suspension of Coach Malik. I do not wish to spend any of my time talking about myself, but some context into how I've been associated with Aledo Westmark and Mercer County football might be beneficial. My junior year, Westmark co-opted with Aledo for football, and I was brought into a quality program with a phenomenal culture. I think everyone would agree that the culture from that era is what a high school football program should try to emulate. My experience in this type of program propelled me to pursue a college education, with the thrill of competing at football being the main motivation to seek higher education. Football and the coaches I had throughout my career and their tough love has shaped my life in ways that have benefited me over and over. Over roughly the last 10 years, I have seen the culture of our program deteriorate. This is not the fault of any one coach, admin, player, parent, fan, or members of the community, but a collective change that was slow and in any short window of time not noticeable. But over time, the overall feel of Mercer County football has changed. On any given Friday, you can see helmets being thrown, foul language being tolerated, players being suspended, unsportsmanlike fouls, fighting amongst teammates, and an overall lack of discipline on the sideline. None of this is a recipe for success, true success. And none of this came to pass overnight. The difference between then and now is then we were in the Lincoln Land Conference, had a winning record, and at any given time. Now with a losing record in the Three Rivers Athletic Conference, culture and climate is an issue. Culture, whether it be at a business, in a community, or in a sports program, is a big ship to get turned around. It doesn't happen overnight. Prior to the 2023 season, I was asked to coach the offensive line and was unable to do so because of conflicts with my professional career. I did, however, take stats and was on the sideline for each of the Eagles' 2023 football games. This year, with a new career, I was able to join the team full-time. I've attended every weight room session throughout the spring and summer and every practice except for the day my daughter was born on September 5th. My wife would have killed me. The shift I've seen in culture during my short time around the team has been noticeable and improving. Last year, I saw a lot of finger pointing, classroom behavior issues, and infighting amongst teammates that led to suspensions. This year, I believe all the coaches on staff would agree that the culture is not perfect. It's not where we want it to be yet, and we have a lot of work to do. But culture and doing things the right way is always at the forefront of what we're trying to accomplish, far ahead of winning and losing. Before we ever talk X's and O's, Coach Matlick teaches his core values that he brought with him to the program: respect, discipline, toughness, togetherness, and maximum effort. Have these values been held up in every instance this year? No, they have not. The Rockridge game last week was a tough loss, and while the vast majority of our players upheld our core values, a minority lacked respect, discipline, and togetherness. Addressing the team after the game, that was Coach Matlick's message. He didn't talk about X's and O's. He didn't talk about lack of execution. He didn't talk about the scoreboard or a block punt or a missed assignment. He talked about respect, discipline, and togetherness. I find it disgraceful that a decision to suspend Coach Matlick indefinitely was made shortly after a meeting with parents that not a single coach was asked to be a part of. I find it wrong that the school trusts us as assistant coaches enough to work one-on-one with its students and athletes day in and day out, but failed to even gather so much as a comment from us about the alleged incidents that led to the suspension. I've been around a lot of football and have never seen a coach at any level put the amount of time and effort to try to put his student athletes in the best position to succeed. The commitment Coach Matlick has put forth as both an athlete and a coach for this program is admirable. To pull the rug out from underneath him 17 games into his first ever coaching job sends the wrong message. It sends the wrong message to our team, it sends the wrong message to our community, and looking forward, I believe it sends the wrong message to anyone considering a position to coach or teach students within the Mercer County School District. I ask the board to conduct its own full review of the situation. I encourage you all to interview the majority of the people who have most at stake. I ask you to involve any and all parents, players, and coaches who care to participate in such a review. I think you'll find that a vast majority believe in Coach Matlick and the direction of our program. I also ask for a full description of the instances that led to this decision. I asked for this when the assistant coaches were informed of the decision, and I was not given it. If the rest of Coach Matlick's staff is to lead these young men for the remainder of the season, we should know what mistakes were made so they can be addressed and corrected. For someone's reputation to be dragged through the mud for making honest mistakes and doing what they thought was right for our boys, only to find out that they've been suspended for issues that were not communicated to them and the rest of the staff in a timely manner is a shame, and I'd hate to be next. Thank you for your time, and please conduct your own review.
Tanner Matlick.
I just want to start, Bill. I will likely go over my time limit here. I ask that the board allows me to continue with what I have to say, if that is okay.
Are you gonna address us later too?
Yes, sir.
Stop. I'll start over. What's the board? I can't make that call my own. What's the board's feeling? Okay.
Within range.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanner Matlick. I'm the head varsity football coach here at Mercer County High School, and I was recently suspended indefinitely from my position due to our team's climate and culture being below the expectations of the school district and the community. I would like to start by addressing the elephant in the room. There was in fact an incident 2 weeks ago between myself and a player where I acted on emotion. I knew instantly that my behavior was out of line. I addressed it immediately post-game with our staff, again over the weekend with our staff on a Saturday morning, then directly with the player on a Monday afternoon prior to our team's film session without any prompting to do so by our administration or our staff. I met with our administration last Tuesday afternoon, and we all came to the mutual conclusion that this behavior was, yes, out of character for me and out of line. I owned the situation, told them the player had been apologized to, and at that time our administration mentioned to me that they still believed in me, still believed in where I was leading this program, and that we were moving past this situation. And I've since contacted the parents of this individual and apologized to them as well. As an individual who owns my mistakes, and out of everything that I'm being accused of, that is the one thing I do regret, this instance. I know that I was in the wrong, and that is the one thing out of everything else, if I could go back in time, I would handle that situation much, much differently. What I am not okay with is being suspended for climate and culture being below the expectations of the school district and the community. Without direct reasons why the climate and culture is below expectations, quite literally when I was told I was suspended, I got no explicit explanation as to why the suspension was handed out, how long it would last, what led up to the decision, and got no platform to communicate my side prior to getting handed the suspension. That said, I do know these things about our culture and would like to share them with all of you. I know that we focused more on team building this offseason than we did in my first year leading the program. Our summer mornings typically started the year with me sharing something motivational, spiritual, and sometimes just original content of what I felt like our kids needed to hear. Always sharing these things with the intent of continuing to push our kids to be the best versions of themselves. We concluded our summer with an overnight trip that included taking the team bowling, competing in a 7-on-7 competition, a lineman challenge, and a night at a hotel that included very specific team building exercises. I opened that team building exercise with a Bible verse, Proverbs 27:17, which reads, "As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend." We started the team building session with a quick game called Helium Stick, which promotes problem solving, teamwork, and communication. Our second session was goal setting, which obviously promotes thoughtfulness, collaboration, and accountability. The last session was called Group Chat, where our kids were put in mini groups and asked to share with one another something they were proud of over the course of the past 12 months and something they felt like they failed at over the same time span. This exercise promotes open communication within our team, understanding, and vulnerability. At the end of that exercise, there were real tears filling the room. Our kids were opening up as teammates about stuff that is hard for 16, 17, 18-year-old kids to talk about. And I did the same with our kids. That weekend, there was a shift in the dynamic of our team. We were tapping into a level of camaraderie and togetherness that was palpable. You could feel personal growth in those kids that weekend. We hosted a guest speaker series over the summer that allowed the kids to hear about culture, success, failures, trials, triumphs from different coaches with different backgrounds. We focused on holding our kids to a high standard in terms of their attitude, their effort, their respect and commitment to one another. And when our kids fall short of that standard, we are hard on them. And there are negative consequences, which is important to any culture. On the same token, we praise our kids highly when they perform across those same categories, not with handouts or prizes or status, but with verbal positive praise, which again is important in any culture. We structure practices to be difficult and to push these kids into hyper-competitive scenarios. This promotes mental toughness and prepares our kids for Friday nights, and ultimately, in the real world, where they will be inevitably faced with hard situations. We address issues as they arise and recap issues as a team if the issues are big enough. We do not tolerate players talking back to coaches, bad-mouthing coaches, arguing with coaches. We expect our kids to understand that they must respect people in positions of authority. That again prepares our kids for adulthood. And the biggest thing I can say to you all about our culture is the amount of texts I've received from parents, from players. One specifically stands out to me. A player of ours contacted, not me directly, but one of my family members. And it's a player that, and I know we're not supposed to talk about the kids, a player that doesn't get any playing time, a player that is on our scout team a lot of the time. And he told his mom when she asked him what he thought of the situation, he said, "Coach Matlick was just trying to make us better people." And that says something about a kid that doesn't receive any playing time for us, doesn't have stake in the game hardly on Friday nights, and isn't getting the stat sheet filled with a bunch of stats and all the glory. That says something about our culture. We do all of these things, yet our culture and climate is under fire from our administration. They see a hypersensitive, hyper-competitive football sideline on Friday nights and think we have a culture issue. They hear misleading information from disgruntled parents and players and think we have a culture issue. Anyone who knows football knows that game days are different. Kids act different, coaches act different, officials act different, fans act different, parents act different. Isolated negative incidents on Friday nights do not define our overall culture. Think about what you truly see on Friday nights from us. The pregame and postgame prayers. Think about the kids celebrating together, coaches celebrating together, even coaches celebrating with kids on Friday night. Think about all the positive coach-player interactions you see on Friday nights where criticism and praise are all taken in stride and constructively by our kids. The hugs, the laughs, the high fives, the tears, the frustration, the emotional energy that you can feel, it's all part of who we are. It's all part of what we are building. And to say that our culture is below the standard is a smack in the face not only to our entire staff, but also to these kids. The expectation of culture has never been outlined to me by our administration. If they have a specific culture that they want to see, then that is on them to communicate that to me, which they have not. And now to be suspended indefinitely because of that portion of what I'm trying to build here is falling short, to me is extremely misplaced. I'm not doing anything differently from year 1 to year 2. I'm not doing anything differently than what I said I would be doing during my interview process. I was eventually communicated the laundry list of reasons for my suspension after I asked for a second meeting with our administration for clarity. Only then did I get a list of items that led to my suspension. The list ranged from patting our kids on the helmet, pushing our kids past their limits, and not giving them ample rest, concern about the amount of injuries our kids have had, me not manning or staffing our homecoming float properly, which I have not done for 2 years in a row and did not hear about this being an issue until I found out I was suspended. There are a handful of other instances that our administration pointed out as shortcomings or failures on my end, and I will gladly accept all of those. But just know how misplaced they feel. I don't want to take everybody's time to address them all publicly or one by one, but I will say this. If you dig in, and if you pry, and if you poke, and if you reach on every coach in America, you will come up with some of these things that are on this list to say negatively about them, or to say they're doing wrong. Every coach has had those things. Every coach has messed up, not gotten things right, or handled things incorrectly, especially early on in their coaching careers. It would be nice for our administration to address these problems as they've happened, rather than compiling a list over the course of time and then using it to suspend me without an opportunity to correct my shortcomings. In closing, I want to leave you with these thoughts. I love these kids. I love our staff, and I love this community. I've sacrificed countless hours of sleep, family time, time away from work, and countless other things to make sure this team and our team's culture is set up for success. I've poured my heart out to this program over the course of the past 16 years, as a player, as a fan, as a volunteer, as an assistant coach, and now as these kids as head coach. I would do anything for our kids, and it's a shame what type of coach I'm being painted out to be. Have I made mistakes along those 16 years? Absolutely. I have at every step in the journey, as everyone does. We are all human, we all make mistakes, and we should all strive to continually learn. I know I will take all of this as a learning experience, whatever happens tonight. I hope you all consider what you have in me leading this program. A young head coach who cares deeply about his players, that pushes them to be the best version of themselves, even if it's uncomfortable, who wants to see these kids succeed, who will laugh with them, cry with them, celebrate with them, suffer with them, and ultimately be there for them through anything. A coach that when we win, gives credit to the kids and the staff, and when we lose, takes the blame head on. A coach that bleeds blue and gold and doesn't want to coach anywhere else. A coach that has 2 daughters in the district that look up to our boys and enjoy the heck out of Friday nights. A coach who has undoubtedly made mistakes, but owns them, learns from them, and a coach that is praying that this district's Board of Education stands behind him not defending anything on the list of items for the suspension, but for the potential that he has. And I'd like to close in prayer for everybody. If you would please bow your heads. Father God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for being with us tonight. I thank you for watching over all the families involved in our program, all the families involved in this district. I pray, God, that you guide our Board of Education, their minds, their souls, to make all the decisions that are in your will, God. I pray that you continue to be with all the families affected by this suspension, and God, that you're just with everybody tonight and be there in the coming days. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. All right, item 2, board comments. Or item 3, board comments, sorry. Board comments, yeah.
I have a couple. You should have at your spot a copy of the letter, or the newsletter for Mercer County Schools Excellence in Education Foundation. So that covers what classroom grants went to last year. This year's were just awarded in September, so the newsletter for that won't come out until your terms. I just wanted to give you a chance to see what the foundation has done in the last year. And in relation to that, we are having a trivia night to raise money for classroom grants, and also to start offering high school seniors scholarships to college if they're going into education. And so that is November 16th here at this building, and would like to have the board come up with a team to participate, and possibly have each of the buildings come up with a team to participate. And then of course all the community to raise money for kids wanting to become teachers and for classroom grants for our district. So it's all of money, every dime of it is going into those 2 programs. And so would love to see as many people come as possible.
Is that in here, the date, or was that?
No, this newsletter was put
November
together over the
16th.
summer, so it's, and I have created an event page for that on my Facebook, but it's November 16th at this building in the Commons.
Since we have a large group of folks here that may not know, Mercer County Schools has an excellent education foundation, otherwise known as McSEEF, and they do a lot for the district, offering grants to teachers and different organizations. So I think you have a Facebook page, right?
No.
Oh, how would someone donate?
There is a tab on the district's webpage that
Okay.
says McSeep on it. You can go there, or you can mail it to the foundation.
The address, okay, perfect. Thank you, Julie. Any other board comments? All right. Any correspondence? I didn't see any. Item 5, the approval of the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone wanted pulled out of the consent agenda? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Wagner moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Lower seconds. Roll call vote, please.
Ballmer,
Yes.
Lower,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. Committee reports. We had a finance committee report that was in your pack, or it was emailed today. So hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. Is there any additional items for discussion out of that, or any questions from the committee meeting?
Just mention, take a look at the recommendations, and if you have any questions on any of the items, go ahead, feel free to ask. There was a very busy meeting, so
Yeah.
lots on there.
Those finance meetings are. Okay. Nobody had any questions? The Building and Grounds Committee, we had a meeting with the architect to go over finishes for the high school. We don't have minutes, they'll be in next month's board packet, but do you have anything to add from it, or just to go over the pretty stuff, how the flooring and all the important stuff, so.
Good presentation.
Don would be very impressed with the number of paint colors.
Yeah. Any crayons melting or anything? No. And then we did not have a transportation committee meeting, but we've done some good things with the bus routes. I know we've reduced some bus times and start pickup times, so that's always a great thing. Number 7.1, information items, FOIA requests, we had none, so there's nothing to go over there. 7.2, the academic improvement planning update.
Okay, I'll just give one from each administrative report from each building. So the ELC, they're focusing on individual writing improvements. At Apollo, targeting questioning and discussion strategies. New Boston is engaging in intense 20 to 25 minute small group instruction. Junior high has math skills as their primary improvement target. And at the high school, the staff has developed primary targets to increase student engagement and a more collaborative instructional approach.
Anyone have any questions about the academic improvement planning update? Next, we have the capital improvement plan update.
Doug and I continue to work on a December 1st internal deadline to get the framework for a long-term capital improvement plan complete. Immediate issues we're working to address. Doug continuously performs triage to a lot of the buildings and equipment. A lot of the work he's doing right now is the transition from heating to cooling, trying to make sure that our kids and teachers have warm classrooms.
We got the heat on in here.
They do have the heat working in here. In addition to that, here at the junior high, exterior lighting on the junior high would have been the east wall has been fixed, and we're working on bus lane and parking lot fixtures and bulbs in those poles. At New Boston, the north side is lit up. I think tonight might be the first time. Ameren has installed some lights under the utility poles on the north side of New Boston. That's all I have.
All right. 7.4, the district design team update.
We have set an initial meeting date of October 28th, so we will officially launch by the end of October.
All right. And then 7.5, tunnels to tower foundation mobile exhibit. Julie asked us to add this informational item on, and there's some, emailed that to us.
It should be at your table. I think I texted and emailed a link to the website about it. But then in your spot is just,
This
it's
form.
just a brainstorm. So that is not by any means set in stone. But we're collaborating with community partners, community groups right now to bring the 9/11 remembrance, or the 9/11 memorial mobile exhibit to Mercer County. It'd be next year. And at the top of the paper, there's 3 options for dates. 3 days that it would be here, a Thursday, a Friday, and a Saturday. Thursday and Friday during the day being for students to tour and come through the exhibit. Basically it comes in as a semi, and it unfolds and becomes a museum. And the guided tours are led by FDNY retirees who were there that day. And so they take the kids through and explain what all the exhibits are inside of it. Now, it is a somewhat costly endeavor. So I have a meeting with the 2 Legion posts in our school district, the VFW. And then we're looking for more community partners as well. But tonight I'm asking for partnership with the school district also. Between private donations and the community groups, I think we can raise $8,000 to $10,000 to bring this here. Total cost is $18,500. And so I'd like the school district to, and it was in the recommendations on the finance report, up to $10,000 to pledge towards this project.
which we can split over 2 fiscal years.
Yes, we could do half in this fiscal year, half in next fiscal year. Our contract is signed 6 months ahead of time, so you're looking at 6 months prior to either August or October. But yeah, again, community would be involved, you know, Thursday, Friday nights, and Saturday would be open to all community members, but daytime, Thursday and Friday, just to our students, possibly invite. We share ACE Camp with Sherrard. We could share this with Sherrard as well, Rockridge, whoever. So it's just something I'm working on. Got some pledges from some community groups and some private donors, and would like to partner with the district. Also, in the minutes for the finance meeting, they do require an insurance policy, and I think the school district is the best partner to do that with instead of smaller community groups. And there's also a discount if the school district is involved in the project. So that's information for you today, and there are other things that go along with it. They have a 5K run in New York City in conjunction with that. Like, maybe something we could try here. Just a bunch of brainstorms on that paper, but we'd love to get the school district involved in this.
So when would we just need to make an action item at a later date?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a timing of that when you need us, is it next month or?
By November, I have to pick one of the dates.
By November before our meeting or?
Well, I don't know, that's why I was looking at all the schedules for next year to try and find a place to put this that it would not interfere with school events.
Right.
And so those 3 dates are the best options, but I think that first date might be at Antique Days, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think from like an action standpoint, it's just
for the,
it's a discussion to make sure that folks feel like they're on board for basically an investment of up to $5,000 in each of the next, this fiscal year and the following fiscal year, and then bringing that back to November as an official action
Okay,
item.
so it would be an official
Yeah.
action item in November, okay. I just didn't want to admit,
Yeah.
we can't add it to this month.
no,
Okay.
it's just information for this month.
Okay. Perfect.
But you guys can think on it for a month and come back to it.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or? All right. 7.6, the EPA Clean School Bus Rebate.
So we could take either approach with this. I'll explain it first, but we could, all this is asking for is the board to acknowledge pursuit of this opportunity by signing an awareness letter. There's no locking into any financial obligations or anything. So when we get done with the discussion, we can bring this back in November for an official vote to approve the signature on the awareness letter, or we can just move forward with it. What we're looking to do is to partner with Johannes Bus Service and alleviate a couple known issues. We've got some aging buses that service our community in the Johannes fleet, and we don't have any internal cameras on the buses in the Johannes routes. So an opportunity that exists is to apply for the Clean School Bus rebates from the federal EPA in partnership with Johannes, and sign a long-term agreement with them that has, everything specifically spelled out as to who would own the buses, who would own the infrastructure associated with those buses, and what would happen at the end of the term of the contract. So it's an opportunity that I would like to pursue. Johannes has verbalized that they're open to that opportunity. Once the opportunity became open, I shared the information and some of the verbiage within the third-party contractor letter, and I haven't heard back with regards to that. So there's still a chance that Johannes may not fully be on board in this direction. Long story short, the issue we're trying to alleviate is renew our fleet in that part of our community with buses in particular that have indoor cameras.
Yeah, that's a struggle. Anyone have any questions on the EPA Clean School Bus Rebate? There was a letter in the reference letter in the board packet. Anyone wants to?
Would you guys prefer I bring that back for official action for the board to approve awareness?
Yeah, I think so. So we can get the details on that.
Will do.
Is that the BEAD funding opportunity, or is that
not be, you got it. Yeah, so we've been working with Viola Fiber, Viola Telco, to try and get fiber to New Boston. There is a funding opportunity through the federal government that channels through the state of Illinois. The key to success is a well-written application. The leaders at Viola Telco have reached out to a firm that was successful in the last round of Connect Illinois funding, successful with local telephone companies, and they have a proven track record of success. Now, what I am going to bring back in November, as long as you guys are open to the idea, this firm is willing to write a shared application between us. It would be in Viola's name, but we would be committing to Viola to purchase internet through their fiber service at New Boston Elementary.
We do it here too.
Yeah, we can do it here. We can do it here, and they think they can do the high school right now too.
good.
basically.
Well, they're right here.
Yeah, they're right here
Yeah,
for
they
this in
are.
Apollo. And then, because then the goal would be to have local internet through a local telephone company at all of our buildings.
Now, would that also open up the city of New Boston to have access to that as
Yes.
well? So we'd be, in a sense, helping the community there as well. to get
100%.
better
It'll go right through
internet
Joy.
service.
It'll go right through Joy also. A part of this application is Viola has to commit to a low rate for a certain period of time for subscribers to be able to get high-speed internet at their homes. So we'll be able to connect everybody off of that branch in Joy. And then within New Boston, if we were able to get funding, there are targeted locations that they have to get
Millersburg?
fiber to the door.
Millersburg?
That's a little bit too far off the beaten path.
Yeah, right. One of these days.
You have to get satellite link.
Step back. Sorry, it's great, buddy.
So now the risk, this firm has been very successful in writing grants. The way I understand it, we've had a couple initial calls. If we are successful in getting the funding, the expense for their grant writing is written into the funding opportunity. So they get paid out of the grant. Now, if we don't get funded, they still get paid. And they've given us a range of from $19,000 to $35,000. And I propose that we split that with Viola on the off chances that they write an application for us that does not get funded. They have expressed that they don't have any willingness to write an application unless they are 90% sure we will get funded.
Is that Viola says that, or the?
No, that's the grant writer firm. So what I'll bring back in November is requesting up to $20,000 for this project if needed. And then, that would more than cover a 50% cost share in the event that our application is not successful. But yeah, the goal is to get high-speed internet, affordable high-speed internet to Boston, and then to as many of the households enjoy, which some of them will be covered under this grant, but a majority of it will just finger out once the fiber is in place over now.
All right, moving on to number 8, action items. 8.1 is ISBE maintenance grant application.
Okay, I think the last 2 months we've talked about this. When the ISB maintenance grant application opened up, I proposed that, so that's up to $50,000 of a matching grant. I proposed that we apply for new walk-in coolers at Apollo Elementary. So I would just ask for formal approval of that to submit that grant and keep our fingers crossed that we get it.
All right. I would take a motion for the ISBE maintenance grant application for new walk-in coolers at Apollo.
So moved.
Wagner. Yates seconds. Roll call vote, please.
Lower,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Ballmer.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. 8.2, school bus bid award.
Okay, we currently have 12 full-size Type C yellow school buses in the fleet that we operate out of the Joy facility. 11 of those leases are up on June 30th. We conduct a bus bid. We got proposals submitted from all three major dealers, and that would be the Thomas dealer, which is Midwest Bus Sales, the IC Bus dealer, which is Midwest Transit Equipment, and the Bluebird Bus dealer, which is Central State Bus Sales. We currently pay approximately $25,000 per bus per year. These bids are significantly higher. The prices have went up a lot since the district locked into these lease agreements. The best offer that we got, so the approach that we're working to take is to position the district out of rollover leases and into an ownership model, and to purchase 2 buses each fiscal year that are slightly used, low mileage used buses, and own them for a period of 5 years so that we have 10 Type Yellows in our fleet that we own and operate, each of them for a period of 5 years. And then we retain 2 on lease, and that just rolls over year after year as part of our long-term plan. Where I was, the only kind of good news that came out of the pricing is it proved that our model and our approach, I believe, is the right way to go. So our best offer was from Central States Bus Sales. Again, we're paying $25,000 per bus per year right now, at an average, because we have different buses, so each one of them is priced a little bit differently, an average of $37,500 per bus per year for a 2-year lease. Now, the 2 slightly used buses that we propose to purchase as part of their bid are quoted at $99,900, which would equate to an ownership model of just about $20,000 per year. So I think the numbers play out in favor of the approach that we're taking. Now, one thing I would ask the board to consider and allow me to pursue as an option is the elimination of air conditioning on those buses, which could save us $5,000 per bus per year. I know we prefer to have air conditioning with an increase basically of 50% per bus. I think it's probably in our best interest to remove air conditioning from the bid. The other opportunity to save money on that bid is we had them quote full external cameras as well, a full set of external cameras. We can have them remove that as well, and the estimate is that might save us around $2,000 per bus.
Would you still have a camera, like, outside of the arm, like?
Still have my understanding still is,
cars?
yeah, still a stop arm camera, still a forward-facing camera, and still a rear-facing camera. But the around the perimeter would be eliminated, and still full in, cameras in the cabin. And that could get us down to, potentially the $30,000 per bus range, which is a little bit more easy to choke down above the 25. So what I'm asking for is approval of the bus bid package from Central States Bus Sales in a motion, and then just the ability to negotiate those 2 items if that's the direction the board would like to go.
It's not really a direct savings of that amount, right, because we're gonna get a reimbursement of a certain percentage regardless of what we spend, right?
Spot on.
From the state.
So 80.
Around 50% is kind of more than
67.
67%.
The special ed busing is refunded higher, but around 86,
It's
89%.
80% of 80%.
Special ed is supposed to be reimbursed
That's what it is.
100%.
They'll surely pay on that.
60% to 20%.
That being said, I would propose, even if we remove air conditioning from the buses, we keep air conditioning on our lift buses.
Are we gonna have, are we gonna have 80 buses with air conditioning, because we still have some buses?
See, so 4,800,
We would have 1 lift.
4,800 of that would be reimbursed of the 7,000 that we're saving, 4,800 would be reimbursed, so we're really only saving the difference,
Right.
2,200.
It's fair. Yeah.
I like the bus model, I hate the no air conditioning. I really hate that, we already got enough problems getting bus drivers, and I don't think they'll love that.
They won't. Neither will the kids.
Well, if it was a direct savings, I think it'd probably be smart to eliminate those, but it's not, so I think, like I said, it's only
Right.
$2,200
Yeah,
of
I don't feel like it's
savings.
direct savings, they're reimbursed, and I think it'll cause more harm than good.
So we're all good with keeping air conditioning
I
and
am.
negotiating the camera deal?
Sound good?
I would like to see at least a bus or two with air conditioning.
Well, we're gonna just keep it. We're not
Yeah,
gonna
because-
eliminate them.
Oh, okay.
The 7,000 that comes off the price, really, 4,800 of that gets reimbursed anyhow.
Because the
so it's
state of
only-
Illinois versus us on the busing, so, so we're not really paying the full amount for.
Because when I got the email doesn't really have like the, so, right.
Yep. So cool keeping air conditioning in the bid
Yep.
and eliminating that full set of external camera.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
I would just ask.
yeah,
for
I would
motion.
entertain a motion to approve the Central States bus bid.
And that's all you really have to do, I'll negotiate with them. on
Okay.
that.
Negotiation on the cameras, so I'd entertain a motion for that.
I'll move to approve the Central States bus bid.
Lower moves.
Second.
Oh, Wagner, seconds. Voice vote, please.
Roll vote.
Or, I'm sorry, roll. Keep me on my toes.
Ian's got you.
Yeah, that's right.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Lower.
Yes.
All right, motion carries 6-0. 8.3, consideration and action on resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation school bonds, alternate revenue source of the district in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $25 million for the purpose of altering, repairing, and equipping school facilities and improving school sites, including but not limited to additions and renovations to the high school building. So we have King's Financial here to help us answer any questions.
Answer any questions you might have. I think everyone's seen the slide deck that we've gone through.
Tim, it's been so long.
So Tim, we did have a question brought up to me before the meeting by a board member. If we were to issue these $25 million alternate revenue bonds and during our next building and grounds meeting decide that we were gonna move forward with maybe a project that was less and say we only needed 15 or 20 million, can we issue the bonds that we issue next month? Can they be for a lower amount than the 25 million, and what's the ramifications of that?
So the final bonding, the final funding bond that will replace the alternate revenue bond can certainly be for a lower amount. And so the difference you would just pay back at when the funding bonds close, whatever is it, because initially you're gonna issue the 25, and so if it's 20, you'll just pay 5 million back down at that time.
Okay.
And fortunately, we're in an interest rate climate where you should be able to borrow the money pretty darn close to what you can invest it at. So there should be minimal, if any, interest out of pocket for the few months that's holding out there. As long as you get it invested right, you should be able to pretty much offset it.
Would that be, are you able to put that in our Illinois fund, or is that?
Exactly. Illinois funds would be an ideal place for it. We could even set it up with an escrow agent to put it in treasuries and lock in something if we think rates were gonna slide down anymore. Like the Illinois funds have come down about 0.5%
Okay.
with the Fed rate decrease here in the last month. But it's still more than what I think you're gonna be borrowing at. I think we should be borrowing in the mid-4s, and right now Illinois funds is still almost 5. So it would have to slide a decent amount more before we'd be starting to incur a net negative.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be a negative financial effect?
Exactly. You were in a rare opportunity. We've done plenty of these over the years when interest rates were ridiculously low, even though you were borrowing low. you couldn't get anything for it. So there was always some level of cost incurrence there, where right now we're kind of in a unique, we haven't been in this situation since 2005, basically, where you could borrow money and then invest it at higher taxable rates. So.
Any other questions on the issuance of the alternate revenue source bonds?
I don't have a question, but is it ridiculous for me to make this motion? Can I make a motion for a different one?
You can.
As long as the motion's related to this topic at this time.
Is it? Can I do that? And I mean, honestly, if I make this motion, it has to be seconded or it dies right there anyway, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to remember, I'm new at the board, so I have to. Okay, so this is on, I need, in the discussion, the reason I want to make this motion is because I want to be very community conscious that there's things that we're talking about in the forum that if we pass these bonds, the community has the option to petition against this and stop this bond action. So the motion I'm going to make is I move that the Board of Education write a referendum to be placed on the April 2025 ballot, which asks the citizens in the Mercer County School District to vote on the question of spending an estimated $25 million on additions and improvements to Mercer County High School based on architectural drawings by Bright Architects. So I mean, I don't know where to leave that other than.
Do we have time to get a, I mean, is it even possible to get a referendum placed on the ballot?
Yeah.
I just feel like with the,
Oh, because it's the April. It wouldn't go.
Yeah.
with the situation this big, I am so uncomfortable with what this will do to our farming community. I'm incredibly uncomfortable with what it will do to people that own homes. Their taxes are going to increase, their house payments were, I mean, not everybody is exponentially wealthy in this community. And I am very concerned about it. And so that's why I need to make that motion. And if I don't get a second, I don't, but at least I put it out there that, I mean, I'm very community minded with that.
You've been communicative about that too.
Hmm?
You've been communicative about that.
Yes.
Do we have the rate impact for our?
I will second it to open discussion among the board members.
So we have a motion. Do you have the motion written down?
Most
Would
of
you,
it.
you got it on paper, you can just, is that all right if you give it to her? And then, so we've got a motion by Nelson and a second by Wagner. And so, we'll open discussion. Okay. Okay. And our current rate for this year is $4.83. So the impact of this alternate revenue bond, or the actual issuance of the bonds, would be in 2024 would be 4.83. So it would stay the same. In 2025 it would go up 1 penny. 2026 it would go up 1 penny. 2027 it would go up 1 penny. 2028 it would go up 1 penny. 2029 it would go up 2 pennies.
And that's just because of rounding.
Because of rounding, yep. And then the next year, 2030, it would go up 1 penny. So we would go from a rate today of $4.83 to $4.90 in 2023. And that is based off of a 5% EAV increase. Currently, EAV increases in the communities have been going way higher than 5%, but we assume at some point that's going to slow down. So when you see an increase to your tax bill and the tax rate doesn't change, that's because your property's worth more. So that's why when people say my taxes went up, well, they really didn't, because the rate stayed the same, but your house is worth more or your farm ground's worth more. So so that's the impact 7 cents, increase from 2023 to 2030.
In that 7-year span.
Yeah.
Can you show, do you have the example too of what that looks like in dollars?
Oh, for like a $100,000 house.
And a plot
So,
of farmland as well?
if you have a $200,000 residence, so home,
With a homeowner's occupied exemption.
yep, so you've got the exemption, so it's not a rental property, it would be $6 per thousand or just to your bill?
$6 to your bill in the second year.
In the second year, so the
Flat.
first year, so 2024 would be 0, so this current year. 2025, it would be $6 added to your bill, 2026, it would be $6 added to your bill.
Compounding.
Yeah, 20, right, an additional, so $12. And then, 2027, it would be $12 added to your bill, which would be $24. And then, 2028, it would be another $12, which would be, that compounded.
No,
Now you're
that's-
making me do math on the spot.
I don't have a summary. for
Yeah,
the compound.
so, but basically by year 30, 2020, or 2030, I'm sorry,
Where's Simone? I saw
you're
that.
going up. It's not Excel, sorry. So here, I'll do
That's what
that.
Steph complains about too. So it's just,
I'll do the math.
okay.
I want folks to know. So 6 plus 12 plus 24 plus 18. So it'd go up $78 total from 2024 to 2030 on a $200,000 residence with an owner occupied exemption.
It'd be slightly less for a senior citizen with a senior exemption, but not considerably less for their share of that.
Seniors
bond.
have senior freeze at 65, but they make less than $8,000.
That's the best thing
That's
that
not
they
bad
have, is
at
they've
all.
got the EAV.
Which pushes all the burden to it.
I don't think I'll get senior resident. I did the math over here, but
Did you?
not a senior resident.
Oh, okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions or discussion on this before we take a vote?
And that was the same information on the slide.
Yeah, and that's just the one comment that I had. We did bring this to the community, and had the community forums to be as upfront about it as possible before we made the vote. You know, the slides are out there, that information's out there, we're certainly not trying to hide it. The community still has the ability to stop the process as well, the petition process.
And it's 497 signatures.
497.
On the first round?
How many registered voters are there in the county?
Well, what
In the
percent's
district,
for-
in the school district?
What was my second number, 600 something?
633.
Yeah, that's 10%, so roughly 6,300.
So 663. So
6,300?
Registered voters.
Registered voters.
There's only
And you
11,000
only
in
need
the county.
497?
There's only 11,000 people in the county or something.
And for those who weren't at the community forum, if the petition is presented, it stops this process and it goes to referendum, possibly.
I wasn't able to attend those, what kind of turnout did you have?
we had
Better than
probably
normal.
a dozen at Eliza, maybe 30 at the high school.
It would have been better had it not been picking time for the farmers. You know, the farmers have a very large interest in this. And, it's just not a good time of the year for them to be going to anything for the fields.
We did project those out as well, the impact on farmers.
Yeah.
No one wants their taxes.
Right.
All right, so we have a motion to, did you say to table? Or what's your?
Motion to put the question on the ballot.
Oh, to
I
put
would,
the
I would
question
like
on
to
the
put that
ballot.
question on the ballot so the taxpayers can, I just cannot get past the idea that just a board of 6 or 7 people can decide a financial fate for an entire school district's financial well-being. And that's why I mean, I feel strongly about it, and I'm definitely gonna support the petition action if that's what it takes. It's just, I would have liked to have had the community regain some kind of confidence back with our board. that we consider their well-being. This is not a wealthy community by any stretch. That's why we have free lunches for everybody. And when you raise taxes, even if somebody's living in a rental property, their rent goes up. They can't pay the rent now. I mean, this is not a good situation. And I don't have a problem with, that school is beautiful. I've seen it, it's absolutely beautiful, and I don't have a problem with anybody building that. I don't have a problem with the bonding that. I have a problem with the community not being involved, that they do not get a voice. I think that is ludicrous. I just can't get past the idea that I'm gonna walk by people and they're gonna look at me. I'm not voting for it. I mean, I just can't.
I do know through this process of the high school, we've had multiple community forums. This last one was the only one that had any attendance. I mean, we had one where there was no one here. So it's like, you know, we do push it out there to this community, give them a chance to voice their opinion, and we really get nothing.
Yep.
So,
But I feel like the community has gotten to the point that they feel like the board does not listen to them. And they're not gonna make an effort going anywhere if they have a board that does not listen to them. So, I mean, it falls where it falls, and I'm okay with that. But I too will move forward.
Let's move forward.
then we've got a motion on the table, so we'll do a roll call vote. So the motion is to, well, the motion is to put the question on the ballot, not to move forward with the alternate revenue funding. So just to clear that up for everybody, so you know what you're voting yes for or no for.
Now, if we vote yes, we'll vote to
Put it on the, you're voting
Put it on
to
the
stop the
spring
project,
ballot.
put it on the
Make sure
spring,
what
the
you're
April.
explaining that.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were just voting on Julie's motion.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry,
Lori.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but if you vote yes,
We'll vote to put it on,
you're voting to put it on the April election, on the ballot.
It goes on the ballot automatically without forcing the community to go out there and
We're not voting
sign.
on 8.
No.
Right, we're not voting on
Correct.
8, right. So, all right, sorry.
Smock.
Well, of course.
Yeah, I'm glad you're first.
No.
Wagner.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Ballmer.
No.
Lower.
No.
Then what do
Nelson.
we do?
Yes.
It doesn't pass if you don't have the majority.
Oh, because we don't have, yeah.
Okay.
So Jason would have been the tiebreaker.
All right, so,
You have to have 4. So you don't have 7 people.
all right. So now I would entertain a motion to issue or authorize the issuance of general obligation school bonds.
I move to authorize the general obligation school bonds not to exceed the amount of $25 million.
Okay. Lower, is there a second?
we have some,
We will.
Second.
I wanted to
Second
say it.
first, yeah.
And
I
then
second.
you can just take the language.
Ballmer seconded.
from there.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I can read it too.
All right, discussion?
It's pretty good.
Can we table this until Jason, until,
Well, when we vote, if it goes the same way as it went the last,
as it should?
if it goes the same way the last vote did, there's
Okay.
no, yeah.
Got it.
So my question is, do we have any chance of losing some of our other private funding by,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance, yeah, I
There's a
don't know,
chance.
there's
I don't
a.
know for sure what.
So in that forum, the question was asked by one of the members at that forum, if you would have in writing solid proof that you would in fact get that money before we ever voted on this bond, do you have that? Because you told me you would.
Well, before we ever issue the final series, yeah. Yeah, we will.
We do have a,
We have a document,
Yeah.
but we don't have anything signed or
Signed.
approved by the board yet. So if this moves forward, then that's the next step, is to for me, is to solidify the language in that document, get that signed by the private donor, and then get that approved by the board.
So if this fails tonight to pass, then we would redo it on next month, hoping that we have a full majority, that we can get a, we could even, you could bring up, she could bring up her question again, couldn't she?
Same
If
question.
it's the same motion, it has to be brought up by someone who voted against it.
Oh, I see.
Before you can bring it up to you.
Okay.
So someone who voted no would have to be the one to propose it.
But if we vote on this next month, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, we haven't even, but I'm reading the tea leaves. So if we vote on this, first, and it gets voted down, then somebody could, then at that point in time say, all right, well then, like Jason wasn't here, so we can bring up putting it on the ballot, correct?
Well,
Or does it have to be someone that voted against?
you'd have, if you're gonna do the same motion twice, it's basically a
A reconsideration?
reconsider.
Okay.
And so you would have to get the person who voted against it to propose it and bring it up. They would have to actually make the motion.
Okay.
So we have to go through the list that
Okay.
Diane has, and then one of those people could be asked to propose it next month.
Okay. All right.
Awkwardly looks at camera.
So, all right, so we'll do a roll call vote on this, please.
Can you restate the motion? I have.
It's the
8.3.
8.3, the whole, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's already a motion in a second.
Yes.
I seconded Jake.
Yep.
If you wanna,
I was just trying to decide if we can't table this till we get a full. Is that fair?
I think you've got a motion and a second, you've got.
so wait though, if we,
Yeah.
Once the motion has been made, you gotta do something with it,
Okay.
whatever you decide.
but the person who made the motion can withdraw it, right?
Yes.
So if we vote on this, can we vote on it next month? We can't do this motion again next month, anyways.
We can if somebody votes against it, brings it up.
You know,
But if they withdraw this one, you can wait until you have a full board.
Yeah.
And you clearly have a 4-3 board.
I'll withdraw the motion.
All right. I'll move, no, if you wanna move
Hey,
to table it,
I know.
yes. Robert's Rules of Order,
yeah, she's the one that knows.
she was an FFA teacher.
Not a good
We taught that to freshmen.
Are we taking a vote?
Yep.
Okay, we'll vote, okay. We will vote. We're voting on issuing the alternate revenue bonds. We're voting on 8.3.
Oh, we're voting, okay. I thought it'd be.
You decided not to.
Not to withdraw.
Sorry, I'm new to school.
We don't usually have $25 million votes.
Oh, man, Friedman's first meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Wagner,
Yes.
Oh, you're voting yes to.
Yates,
If you would like to know
No,
why, I will
you're
tell you
good.
later.
Yeah, we got it.
You're good.
Do I have to?
Yates,
Yes.
Balmer,
Yes.
Yeah. It's all right. It's
Lower,
Yes.
Nelson,
No.
Smock.
Yes. So motion carries 5-1.
I feel like Julie just pulled some ninja stuff out.
Okay, so.
Like I said, I'll tell you why if you wanna know.
I gotta figure out.
Motion carries 5-1, all right. Okay, on to 8.4. Action on delegate for joint annual conference. So, Julie has always represented us in the past, and she has fun doing it.
The laptop.
So, if no one else is clamoring
I have to be there anyways.
to do it, we could entertain someone else, but I would recommend Julie. I'm going to recommend Julie Wagner as the delegate for Mercer County School District 404 for the joint annual conference.
Is that a motion?
That would, yeah, I'll move.
Second. Gotcha.
We'll give,
And it's not just us, it's Blackhawk Region, right?
no, it's just us.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
I
just
will
a
just
delegate.
represent what we decide.
So Smock and Yates, or Smock and Palmer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. Wagner is the delegate. Now, the fun part, we get to declare our positions on the resolutions. So they were in your board packet, and I got this little fancy cheat sheet here, so we can just vote on them.
Starts on page 11.
Yeah, I gotta get back into that computer. Alright,
This is, I get the back.
Yeah, the one you showed, page 11.
there it is. I'm learning how to navigate this, Google Drive. Yeah. I know that's nice. I lost it.
So if we get to a resolution you don't understand what they're asking, feel free to ask.
Okay, so I'm gonna read the, little synopsis on them quickly, if I can get this to open. Alright, so you said page 11, right?
Yeah, that's the constitutional amendment.
Yeah. Did you get it to it? All right, so the constitutional amendment, rationale, while the current language references the use of Robert's Rules of Order, it does not specify how the association should proceed if there is a conflict between Robert's Rules of Order and the association's constitution or special rules. And this is the IASB constitution, this is not like a state of Illinois constitution thing. This language would give IASB the authority to adopt constitutional language and special rules that may not conform with Robert's Rules of Order, and specify that the association's constituents and special rules outrank the Robert's Rules of Order, provided no federal or state or local laws are violated. And they are recommending that we do adopt, right?
Yep.
That one I don't have on my list.
It should be at the very bottom.
Oh, that's the last one.
It's the last one on the checklist.
Yeah, okay, that's why. All right, so, they recommend we adopt. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, so we are voting yes on that. The next one,
Now, can you say what is the next one? Is it, because I think I'm in
the
the
dual
Dual
language.
Okay, that's not dueling.
Yeah. So, the resolution committee's analysis, the committee agreed that the current method for funding state authorized charter schools
Oh,
is.
that's wrong.
Oh, no, that is the
Sorry.
right one. You're right.
Maybe
I
other
was
column.
looking at the other side. The IASB Resolutions Committee determined that providing additional flexibility and allowing reasonable alternative qualifications such as the seal of biliteracy to meet the world language graduation requirement is a benefit to the students. So they recommend we do adopt. So, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. EDF funding, for authorized charter school funding. This says the committee agreed that the current method for funding state authorized charter schools is inequitable, since EDF is enacted to ensure the public schools receive state funding based on the unique needs of their student population. State charter school funding should reflect the same principle. I am not a fan of the school chart, the way the charter schools are done in the state of Illinois, so I am going to vote no. They recommend we do adopt. So,
It just applies a PDF formula to state charter schools instead of them just taking out of the hosting school district
yeah.
funds.
Oh, so it would be benefit to the hosting school. Okay, so I changed my
okay.
vote. That's why I didn't understand it, yeah. This is good. Glad you were.
Because generally their special ed populations are lower, but yet they're getting funding as if they did have special ed populations, and that's
Right.
the host district.
Cherry pick.
Yeah, the charter schools take a lot of funding from the public schools, so that's why I'm not a fan, but, all right, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. TIF financing accountability. Tab's favorite topic. So, the committee determined that school districts face numerous challenges as it relates to TIF, including the overuse of TIF, the length of TIF, and the fiscal impact of the TIF on the taxpayers within the school district community. Given these challenges, taxing bodies most impacted by TIF, such as school districts, should have a meaningful voice in the approval of TIF, and reform is needed. It's recommended we do adopt, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
56% of the TIF directly out of school.
Yep. All right, Faith's Law. Okay. The committee determined that requiring each school district to fulfill the requirements of the EHRs is burdensome on individual school districts, creating a centralized entity responsible for EHRs would streamline the process and allow for more accurate and consistent completion of EHRs. What is Faith's Law?
Employment history.
The
Yeah,
employment
it's
history
employment
review.
history review.
Right now, the school district performs employment history review on all new hires.
Right.
To make sure there is no incidents of abuse of students in previous.
Okay.
And this would create, ISB would create a centralized location where all school districts would report student abuse. And then when someone comes to be interviewed for your district and ask ISB, has there ever been an issue before?
Okay.
You don't have, right now, our district has to go and ask all the previous
Right,
employers
you're right.
individually.
There's no central, okay.
Right, there's no centralized place, and base law requires that we do this.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are in favor. Healthcare coverage. The committee determined that the high cost of providing high-quality health insurance to district employees and limited availability of insurance plans for districts in multiple counties throughout the state is a serious problem. Providing school districts with the option to join central management services would allow more health insurance choices for employees while decreasing the cost for school districts. So is this just more of a centralized, like a co-op type thing?
CMS.
It already exists.
Yeah.
CMS.
And so they would have a separate branch or department just for school districts throughout the state. It would be optional. So your district is not required to enter into it. You can if you want. And of course, that's, negotiation issue
Just
too.
gives access.
It provides access for school districts to spread the risk throughout all the districts in
I
the state.
wouldn't use it for those out.
Yeah, right. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
All right, you did.
Nay. I would never use something like that. Deal with them every day.
Well, you were just the one.
Tell them I said so.
All right. Well, it still passes. All right.
Polling place one.
Polling place one. There it is. The committee determined that if a school is not being used as a polling place, the safety of the student is not at risk. Therefore, it should be left up to the local control as to whether the school district observes Election Day as a designated holiday. So that just gives the schools they can not have school on Election Day so that they can host the elections at the polling places at schools. So all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The following resolutions are all ones that they suggest we do not adopt. So this is a cell phone usage. So the committee agreed the cell phone usage during school is a growing concern and that research shows it can negatively impact instructional time and student mental health. However, the committee did not support a statewide mandate and found that cell phone usage is best governed locally. Committee members determined that cell phone policies pose a safety, student discipline, and fiscal challenge for school districts. Given the challenges, this is the best left up to the local district. Last, there's a current IASB press policy already available to districts. Press policies provide school boards with the flexibility to create a cell phone usage policy specific to each district's need. So they say do not adopt.
They just copped out of that, didn't they?
That's right. Put it on us.
Yeah, you guys should do it now.
All those in favor say, or all those in favor of not adopting say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
And the only reason we're voting on these is they can be appealed
Right.
that day when we get up there. And so if they make it through the appeal process and we're voting on it, I
You
need to
gotta
know
know
how
which
to
way
vote.
to go. Alright. Next one. If reconsidered, should it be adopted by the delegate assembly? That's what we just voted
What's
on.
that?
My little cheat sheet here has a 7B, so it says if reconsidered, but our position is not changing, right?
No.
So it's still no?
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, Office of Inspector General.
Came from Chicago.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
While the committee members agree that oversight and accountability for public schools is of the utmost importance, the committee identified many laws and processes currently in place that already apply. Thus, legal remedies already exist to hold school districts accountable, and expanding and creating a new state agency is not necessary. They recommend we do not adopt. All those in favor of us following the guideline and not adopting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Another Faith's Law, EHR for current employees. Committee members determined that in conducting EHRs for current employees could cause confusion and pose legal and collective bargaining challenges for school districts. Given these challenges, these employment decisions are best left up to each local district and its attorneys. So this is saying that we can't just take a teacher that's been in our district for 10 years and perform one of these searches on them. We would have to go about it.
Yeah, legally a collective bargaining
Yep.
process too.
Yep, so their recommendation is not to adopt, so all those in favor of not adopting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And lastly, criminal background checks. The committee agreed that it is critical that school board members maintain the highest ethical standards. However, committee members determined that background checks for school board members, or for school boards candidates, for school board candidates creates a different election standard for school board members as compared to other elected officials. Also, it could cause financial and procedural challenges for potential school board members. These challenges could deter qualified candidates from running for school board. So they recommend do not adopt. All those in favor of not adopting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so those carry. So that is all of our declarative positions on IASB resolutions. I'm going to give this to Judy before I lose it. All right, that concludes the action items. Number 9, administrative reports.
Just want to, guide everyone to the BOE reference site. Just making sure you take a look at the administrative reports from each building that the principals update every month. That's where I steal the academic improvement updates off of their administrative reports, but that's not the only thing. Those aren't the only items that are on there.
I like that new site. It's kind of nice to find all those things in one place. Although I have to keep your email so that I can find it. Anyone have any questions with any of the administrative reports, or any of the administrators have anything to add, or something they would like to emphasize out of it?
Since we wrote the report, Elsie Cook made it to state for golf, so she's headed there. Tees off 9 o'clock, right? 9:30 on Friday. We had it'll be next month, but we had a career fair today at the high school that was really awesome. Tons of vendors and colleges and stuff there, and every high school student got to walk through that. So I'll put some pictures on next month.
Homecoming week was a success,
Yeah,
like in all
awesome.
the schools, so that's great. So hopefully the kids had a good time. So if there's nothing more to add to administrative reports, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. Yates moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Lower seconds. Roll call vote.
Yates,
Yes.
Balmer,
Yes.
Lower, Wilson,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
So it is 8:10. Let's reconvene at 8:20. 8:20. 10 minutes good enough? All right.
Can you have documents for us to
I
sign?
didn't, I didn't figure, it's not a big deal, we'll get the next one.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You